Hey guys, it's Colby from Hunter Service Group. Today we're going to talk about aluminum wiring, and believe it or not, this is a kind of in-depth subject, so we're going to make this a two-part video. Part one, we'll talk about the history of aluminum wiring and why it's there, and maybe some of the dangers that are associated with it. And then part two, we'll talk about what we can do to fix it and to get your home, if it has aluminum wiring, into a safer condition. So how about we get started? So let's get started. We'll talk a little bit about the history and some of the danger conditions associated with aluminum wiring. As far as the history goes, you can find aluminum wiring in 2 to 3 million homes that were built between the mid 1960s through the late 1970s. And essentially copper was really expensive in that time period, and so somewhere along the line somebody had a great idea that instead of using copper they should use aluminum because it was much less expensive. As a matter of fact, historically aluminum is roughly 50 to 75% less than copper, so it's quite a bit cheaper than copper pricing. So it was really attractive from a financial standpoint. However, over time, it became evident that there was problems with the aluminum wiring. Number one, the aluminum wiring doesn't carry electricity as well as the copper wiring does. And so what ends up happening is you have to put a wire on a smaller circuit breaker, and that circuit breaker will trip more often. So specifically, this became a problem in kitchens. Where you might have a toaster going, and today you'll have a Keurig and you have your microwave and whatever else going on all at the same time, and that's causing circuit breakers to trip. We're also having problems in bathrooms where your wife might have a hair dryer going and your daughter's in the next bathroom over and she's running her curling iron at the same time, and that's causing circuit breakers to trip more often. When a circuit breaker is approaching trip condition, the wire itself is heating up. And when it heats up, it expands. And then when it cools down, it contracts. And then it expands, and then it contracts over time. And what ends up happening is the wire will create a loose connection on the terminals on your plugs. Or if you have a junction somewhere in an attic or whatever, and they're tied together under a wire nut or something like that, these wires can loosen up over time. Loose connections in a worst case scenario always mean fire. In a best case scenario, something just stops working and you have to have someone come figure out what's going on and put it all back together again. But in a worst case scenario, the loose connections equals fire. The third problem with aluminum wiring is that the metal alloy that's used to manufacture the terminals on plugs and switches, on modern plugs and switches, I should say, will actually have a chemical reaction with the aluminum wiring. And the product of that chemical reaction is essentially rust. Rust results in a bad connection. A bad connection, like I said a second ago, in a worst case scenario equals a fire. In a best case scenario, something just stops working. Either way, it puts your family at risk to have that kind of connection. Insurance companies know that this is a problem. There's studies out there from the Consumer Product Safety Commission that say that aluminum wiring in homes is 55 times more likely to be in what's considered a fire hazard condition than a similar home that has copper wiring. And so the insurance companies are aware of this, and one of two things is going to happen if your insurance company knows that you have aluminum wiring. Number one, they will rate your policy. They're just going to charge you a lot more for your premium on your home. Sometimes they'll double the premium, triple the premium, 4 times the premium. It is insane. And option two, they just won't issue coverage. They'll tell you no. If your insurance company is not aware that you have aluminum wiring in your home and it exists, if you have a claim because of the aluminum wiring, it is highly likely that they will just deny the claim. and they'll refuse to pay because somewhere in your policy there's probably a clause that says if you have aluminum wiring and we don't know about it, the insurance company, that's on you. We're not paying for it. So be really careful that you are upfront and you're open with your insurance company, or you at least take all of this into consideration before you purchase a home that has aluminum wiring. It is a big deal. So those are the things you're going to want to take into consideration when you own a home with aluminum wiring, or if you're thinking about purchasing a home with aluminum wiring, that those dangers are there and you need to start thinking about how you're going to approach those and to remediate or fix those issues if you decide to stay in the home or if you decide to purchase a home like that. One other thing, if you already live in a home with aluminum wiring and you choose not to do anything about it, that's your prerogative. You can do that. But ultimately the day will come that you will sell your home and it will come up in a home inspection. And at that point in time, your buyers are going to walk away, or your buyers are going to want a steep discount to compensate for this deficiency in your home. So my recommendation is do something about it now, so that way you can have the added safety in your home and you're not going to have to deal with the sales pressure later on when you go to sell your home. So that's it for the things to take into consideration in terms of the dangers and the implications of having aluminum wiring. I'm going to make a part 2 of this video where we talk about how to fix the issues and how we approach remediation. Talk to you soon. Thanks.